Hello, everyone. Today, we're learning about health and hygiene. And health means, keeping our bodies from being sick, and hygiene means keeping ourselves clean. And the thing that I want to talk to you about today is about something called bacteria and a virus. So you probably are familiar with the word virus because right now, we have this coronavirus pandemic. And so, we hear this word every day, and, our whole life right now is controlled by this virus. That's why we can't go outside, and, we can't play with friends at the park, things like that. But what is a virus? And what are bacteria, and what can we do to keep ourselves healthy and safe? So that's what I want to talk to you about today. So we usually think of ourselves as I'm Gregor, I'm just me. But actually, our bodies are more like a city, and we're covered with things like bacteria, and some of them are good. They're like little creatures that are all over our bodies and inside our bodies. And some of them help us, and some of them might be trying to make us sick. But they're everywhere. They're all over us and inside of us. So there's a lot of different kinds. This one right here that I made a little picture of, this is an example of a special kind of bacteria called Lactobacillus. And bacteria means, something, it's a living thing. It's alive. It's like a little animal. It can move around. It looks for food. It makes its own energy. Things like that. And this one, if we want this one, this is a good bacteria. This can help us. And the way we get this bacteria is by eating things like yogurt, or kimchi, things like that, things that are fermented foods, like yogurt. And when we eat yogurt, as long as the yogurt has live bacteria in it, then what we're doing is we're putting millions and millions of these little lactobacillus bacteria inside our body, where then they can help us. They can help us digest our food, and they can help us stay healthy. So that's how we can give our body more bacteria, more good bacteria. All right. So now let's talk about a bad bacteria. So this bacteria right here that I made a little model of, this is a model of E. coli. E. coli is a dangerous bacteria. It's a bacteria that can make our bodies really sick. And we usually find E. coli, well, we can find E. coli in many different places, but one of the places that we find is on our food. And that's why it's really important, that we are really careful with our food, that we keep our food clean, that, we cook our food properly, that we wash our fruits and vegetables before we eat them, and things like meat. Meat has to be cooked to a certain temperature to be nice and hot. That way, any of these bad bacteria can be killed so that they don't make us sick. So yeah, this is E. coli, and E. coli is a bad bacteria. But remember, it's a bacteria, so that means that it's alive. That means it looks for food. That means it makes its own energy, right? It can move around. So that's what it's doing. It's trying to find a new home, and it goes into our body to make its home. So both of these, the lactobacillus here with the nice happy face and the E. coli, they're both bacteria. They're both alive. They both move around. They both look for food. They both make their own energy. So what can our body do, right? If these things are coming into our body, what can our body do? Well, luckily, our body has these things called white blood cells. So here I made a model of a white blood cell. The white blood cells are like police officers, or firefighters or doctors. They have, their job is to keep us safe. They move around our whole body inside of our blood. And they look for things like the bad bacteria, and then they actually sort of eat them. But they help destroy these bad bacteria to keep us safe. Now, the way they do that is by, moving all around our body. And then when they find something that they know, oh, that's a germ, that's a bad germ, let's stop it, then they can try their best to stop it. So yeah, the white blood cells, that's how our body helps keep us safe. But now let's talk about a virus. What's a virus? So I made this little model of a virus here. This is a model of the coronavirus. Corona actually means crown like a king wears on his head. And the reason why they call this a coronavirus is because it has all of these little pieces that are poking off all around it, and it kind of looks like a crown, right? But there's some important differences between a virus and bacteria. Okay, a virus is not alive. It's not alive. It doesn't move around by itself. It doesn't make its own energy, right? It doesn't need to eat. A virus, the only thing a virus can do is it can be moved from place to place. Like if you cough, right? If you had a virus and you coughed, some of that might come out and fly, through the air, and then somebody else might breathe it in. That's how it would move around, right? And once it gets inside your body, it's not going to move around by itself, really. It's just going to be moved around inside your body, your body might move it around. Now, one of the problems with a virus is that because it's not alive, it's very difficult for us to use medicine to stop it. So with bacteria, we can use special kinds of medicine called an antibiotic. And the antibiotic will kill the bad bacteria. Now we have to be careful because antibiotics can also kill the good bacteria. So we don't want to use antibiotic medicine too much because it might start to take away some of our, friendly, helpful bacteria too. But if you did get sick, with a bacterial infection, the antibacterial medicine will help kill these bad bacteria so that you can be healthy again. The problem is this coronavirus or other viruses are not alive, so those types of medicine can't kill them because they're not alive. That's why I made this little coronavirus look a little bit like a robot, because you can kind of imagine that a virus is more like a robot. It's not actually alive. Not like an animal or a plant or something like that. So what the virus is trying to do is it's trying to get into your body, into your cells, and take over that cell, and then spread to another one, and then create more of itself by getting into cells. And when it gets into a cell, it can make a new coronavirus cell, and it can go to some other cell. Then some other cell that touches it can get infected too. So that's a big difference between here's a bad virus and a bad bacteria. But they're even though both of them are bad for our bodies, both of them cause problems, both of them can make us sick, they do it in a very different way. And so the way that we treat them has to be very, very different. The most important thing with a virus is just not getting sick, keeping the virus away from our body. Because, one of the problems is, especially with a new virus, like the coronavirus, is that our body doesn't know how to stop it, right? So inside your body, your white blood cells, right, over your life, they've been learning how to fight different kinds of diseases, right? And how to stop different kinds of diseases, right? And usually, sometimes, we get things like, antibiotics, like a shot when you're, sometimes you go to the doctor and get a shot. And those shots, what they're doing is they're teaching your body how to fight the viruses. So if a new virus comes, your body already knows, oh, I know how to stop that virus, and then all gone, right? But the coronavirus, we don't have a vaccine for. We can't take an antibiotic vaccine to stop this virus because it's new. And even more interesting is that this virus wasn't from humans first. This was a virus from another kind of animal. And so our human white blood cells, they don't recognize this. It's kind of like this, if these two white blood cells are guarding your body, and then this new virus comes along because maybe somebody sneezed, beep, 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 beep. And these white blood cells say this virus says, hey, can I come into this body? And the virus says, I don't know. Or the white blood cell says, I don't know what this is. Do you know what this is? And this white blood cell, I've never seen it before. And then because they don't know what to do, that means the virus maybe has enough time to get into our body and start, taking over some of our cells and then making us really, really sick. So, that's another problem with a virus, is that sometimes those viruses don't even come from other humans. They come from animals first, and then our bodies don't know how to stop them. So like I said before, it's really important. The way that we can keep ourselves safe from a virus is by not getting sick with the virus, right? Keeping the virus away from our body, because once it gets inside our body, it's very difficult for our bodies to stop it. So the most important thing then is keeping yourself clean, keeping yourself away from people who might be sick, right? That's why right now we're staying inside our houses. We're not going out with our friends. We're not going to the park. We're trying to keep these coronavirus germs or cells away from our body, right? So that way, if they can't get in, then we can stay healthy. So, we have some other things that we can use, right? We have things like, these are antibacterial, wipes. So, you can use these to, take out a wet tissue. And these aren't just wet. It's not just water. It's water and alcohol. And then that can help you, right? Of course, washing your hands with soap is the most important thing. That's the best thing you can do, is washing your hands with soap, staying away from other people. If you do leave your house, right, and you go to the grocery store, something like that, when you come home, take your clothes off and change into inside clothes, making sure that you keep your outside shoes outside, things like that, right? There's some other things we can use. This is an alcohol gel. You can put this on your hands and wipe it. If you're away from soap and water, like let's say you're at the grocery store, things like alcohol spray can help keep you safe. This is just a big can of spray. You might use this to, spray down, the door at your house or cleaning inside your house. You could also use it on your hands. But so I have a demonstration here to show you, right? Because if we want to know, how can we stop a virus? How can we stop the coronavirus, from coming into our bodies? And, like I said, the most important thing is staying clean. So I have this demonstration, right? So the coronavirus, just like anything else, just like all of these cells and just like our body, the coronavirus is covered with a kind of like a skin, right? And the only way that we can destroy the coronavirus is by breaking its skin. If we can break this skin open, then the virus will be destroyed. It's kind of like a water balloon, right? If you have a water balloon, if we pop that water balloon, the balloon will explode and all the water will come out and it's done, right? We can't put it back together. So that's the only way that we can keep ourselves safe. So I have a demonstration to show you, so that you can understand some of how that works. So I have this, sort of water mixed with some, bubble liquid. And if I lift it up, you can see that it makes like a film, kind of like a skin in between these two strings, right? And if I have a dry finger and I touch it, it popped, right? Because the skin on a virus needs to stay wet, right? That's why it's very important. If there was some coronavirus on this table, if this table just stayed dry for, maybe a few days, the virus would all die. Not die, but the virus would all be destroyed because it dried out and the skin on the virus is broken. The virus needs to stay wet. And I can show you, if I wet my finger and I stick it through, now all of a sudden the skin isn't breaking because my finger is wet, right? And that's a good example of how this virus, it lives inside like our lungs and our noses and our mouth, because all of those places are wet. And when we cough out little pieces of water into the air, and that can keep the virus alive. So now, one other way, that we can break that skin, like I said, is with soap or alcohol. So here's a little cup with some alcohol in it, right? I can spray a little bit more in there. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this out one more time to show you that skin. But this time, I'm going to make my finger wet, but wet with the alcohol. And if I touch it, immediately it pops. Let's try and do that one more time. If I put the alcohol on my finger, immediately it pops. And that's exactly like the coronavirus. If we can use alcohol or soap, what happens is we break down the skin on the outside of that virus. And once that skin is destroyed, just like a water balloon, it's popped and the virus has been destroyed. So, the important thing when we're looking at, those different things that are around our body and the things that, might make us sick, or some of them might make us healthy, is understanding the differences between them. Remember, bacteria, like this bacteria from yogurt and this E. coli bacteria that might be, try and make us sick. These things are both alive. They're like little creatures, little animals. They move around in our body. They try and spread around. And some of them might help us and some of them might make us sick, but they're more like living animals. And the virus is more like a robot. It has a job to do, but it's not alive. So there you go. And don't forget, we do have some good guys in our body, right? Some heroes like the white blood cells, but it's your job to help them by keeping them strong, by eating good food, eating healthy food, and by keeping your body clean. That will make their job easier. That way you can stay healthy. So I hope you learned a lot today, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.